All right, hello again. I wanted to make a video talking about the symptoms that a person could experience after narcissistic abuse because I didn't understand why these things were happening to me because I didn't know that I was dealing with a narcissist. And so it would have helped me a lot if someone had told me why all of this was going on. And then I would have identified the narcissist much sooner and I would have felt better a lot sooner. So, here are some of the things that you might be experiencing, and a lot of them are ones that I've experienced too. The first is flashbacks of the cruel behavior or trauma. I had a flashback of every moment that I can remember of the verbal and emotional abuse, and even the threats of violence or actually murder that I was totally in denial about at the time. But there was definitely mumbling under her breath in the shower about how she would come after me if she needed to and kill me. So that was disturbing. Um, and they happened whether I was asleep or awake, which is something I had never experienced. And it felt like I just needed to cycle through all of these things at least once before they could stop. Um, Another one that you could experience is avoidance of personal interaction. I guess I felt like this occasionally, but again, I'm such an extrovert that it really, really helped me to get out and hang out with people that I care about. So I didn't give in to this, but I can totally see how someone would. Anxiety. Whoa. I never thought that I was this anxious of a person until all of this happened to me. It seemed like it could be triggered by anything, sometimes nothing. Especially anything that was related to her, though. Like even a text from a mutual friend, I would just see their name pop up and think, oh my God, what if this person's going to tell me something about her? Like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what she's doing. I don't want to know who she's dating now because I'm sure she's dating someone. Um, my vision even gets kind of blurry when I have to drive close to her apartment. I don't even know if she's still living there, but the place where we used to live together, I just get this haze when when there's no other route that I can take and I have to drive past it. Another big one that's listed in a lot of places is difficulty with eating, um, either not wanting to eat anything or like binge eating. I have a history of eating disorders, and so this one was very textbook for me. It was a perfect trigger for all of that to happen again. So, I had zero control of the situation I was in before. Now I still kind of have zero control over it. I'm living alone in a studio for the first time in my life. So what can I control? My food intake. So I've been fighting that one a lot. Um, but that I thought that was interesting that it was listed as something that could happen to lots of people in this situation. Self-harming is another one that could certainly happen. Thankfully, I didn't have a lot of this one besides I chain smoked a lot of cigarettes for a while and I'm really not a smoker, but kind of matching how awful I felt with the kind of awful feeling of a cigarette and another cigarette being absorbed into your lungs. It's not good, especially if you're not used to smoking. So I definitely did that. Obviously, depression is another big one. I struggled somewhat with this, but for me, it was way more the anxiety thing. Lost sense of self is another one that can certainly happen. I did have some of this because I was so used to focusing on her and what she needed and her schedule, where she would want to be at certain times, the shows that she would want to watch. I was kind of suddenly, living by myself was like, what am I going to do with my time? I could do anything. This is so weird. To an extent, I did experience that one. Another big one that's listed and that really happened for me was confusion, just general confusion. Like, what happened? I still remember the moment that I first came into my apartment after everything had finally been moved in. And my narcissist had helped me actually so that she would look like such a good person. And just with zero emotion, headphones in, just dropping off all my stuff. And then she left and it was completely silent. I just was like, how did I get here? And of course, I was replaying all these situations, and for months afterwards, I was still replaying a million different little parts of conversations that we had had, or things that she had said to me that clearly often were just things that either were supposed to build up her image and make her look like a good person, or were kind of like people pleasing me away so that I would just like stop talking or stop questioning her about something. But at the time, I had taken them to heart, like when she would say, "Oh, I do want to, work up to coming and staying over at your place. I do want to come see it," and things that, of course, she didn't mean at all. But I just was so confused about all these completely conflicting things that she'd said. And so I would tell my family and friends these things that popped into my head over and over again. And a lot of the input, of course, was like, well, she's obviously immature. She doesn't know what she wants. She's afraid of intimacy. And all of those are true on some level. But none of it made sense as to why someone would break off an engagement so quickly with zero emotion until I figured out the narcissist stuff. Hyperarousal is another one. Like, you might have extreme fear of your personal safety. Thankfully, I didn't have this one. I think I might have just blocked it out because, like I said, there were moments when I really should have been afraid of my personal safety, especially when she decided she was going to get a gun. And a lot of it was she was talking about suicide a lot, but also when she would threaten things under her breath, my friends were scared for me, and I was like, no, it's not going to happen. But I think I just blocked that one out. So maybe I kind of skipped that one. Hypervigilance is another one. So scanning your environment for constant possible threats, stalking, violence. I didn't really have this one, but the closest thing I have is I interpret lots of people as probably her, like from kind of far away or even from like a block away. I'm like, oh my God. And then I have really extreme anxiety. I actually, thankfully, have access to mental health professionals, and so I got Xanax for the really extreme moments when I think I'm going to see her. So before I go to the grocery store that we used to go to together, I take some Xanax because she might be there and I don't know how I would handle it. And I even started bringing a friend to the grocery store just in case she's there and I need some support. Another thing you might experience is irritability. I had this one for real. Like, I was nasty. Not for any reason, nothing particular would trigger it, but it was just like frustration, confusion, anger, because nothing could fix the situation. So no matter who came up to me, when I was still sad instead of angry, no one was her. No one could come replace her. No one could make it better. She wasn't texting me. She wasn't trying to apologize. She didn't care. And so I was just mad and had a really short fuse. Another one is multiple physical complaints. And this one is so interesting to me. I didn't know that you could end up with things like joint pain that I certainly had, and stomach aches that I certainly had from the anxiety. And another one is impaired concentration and memory. There are definitely some of the traumatic moments that I have completely blocked out, I'm sure, and I just don't remember them. That's a normal thing. And then the concentration one was huge, though. Like, normally I love school. Writing papers was like kind of my thing. But a few days after I moved into this studio apartment by myself, I actually had to write a 12-page paper all in one day because I'd been so wrapped up in, moving out and all of my emotions. I had one day to do it. Normally I could have pulled this off, but it was just impossible to concentrate, and even on a subject that I really liked. So that was weird to experience. I just couldn't get my thoughts where I needed them to be. Another thing you might be experiencing is disturbed sleep and distressing dreams. I had crazy dreams, really awful ones, and then also some mixed in where she was nice again and she loved me again and back to the idealization stage, and it was awful to wake up from because clearly that wasn't real. I also didn't sleep through the night for 6 months at least, and it was only actually a couple days ago that I finally slept through the night without the help of any drugs are, by that I mean like Xanax. It only helped when I figured out this narcissist thing, and then I began to let go of this person that I never even really knew. Um, so that finally helped a lot. But I also was waking up almost every night in a pool of sweat. I mean, like a pool. Like I had to change my clothes because they were drenched, and they even drenched the sheets. Um, and I couldn't fall back asleep after that too. It was usually about 4 a.m. I also had some of these are complex PTSD symptoms. Um, and here are some more. Complex PTSD is more of when you've had a prolonged exposure to some sort of abuse or traumatic experience compared to PTSD that is usually from like one really awful event. So I did have some of the CPTSD symptoms. Another one of those is avoidance. So that's the practice of withdrawing from relationships with other people, kind of as a defense mechanism so that you don't have to be rejected possibly again or face any criticism. I tried dating for a while. It was way too soon, but I just sort of tried to get out there and talk to people and go on some dates, and I definitely shut down pretty quickly at any sense that we might not have another date or that someone, wasn't into what I was saying. Another one is low self-esteem. This one was huge. I just felt like who would want to talk to me, who would want to go on a date with me. If people wanted to go on a second date with me, I was totally shocked because I just felt like no one was ever going to love me as much as she did, even though she didn't. But especially at the time, it felt like it's never going to be like that again. So I must just be discarded now. So things you can do about all of these issues. This is the hardest one for me. I hate it. But understand that all of this will take some time. I hate that one. I want actions that I can do. But I guess that time kind of is a big one. One thing you can do is learn your triggers that will possibly send you off emotionally, kind of off course. At least like be ready for what you're going to feel when you experience them. So I know what some of mine are. I'm not quite there with being excellent at feeling them and letting them pass, but that's one thing you can work on. Understand that what happened to you was not your fault and was not in your control. That's huge. And of course, ideally, you would be able to speak with a mental health professional about this. I am not one, but I thoroughly believe in the power they have to help you if you have health insurance and access to them. That would be great. So I hope that learning about some of these things help you feel more like you're having completely normal responses to all of this, instead of like I was feeling totally crazy and confused and I thought I had maybe other health issues. But all of these are listed on a million different websites of real mental health professionals, and so I wanted to share them. So again, I hope you feel a little bit better, and I'll make some more videos soon. Okay, be well.